was down in Florida when you had your planning commission meeting. I watched it. It is 6:30, and I will call to order this meeting of the Plainfield Charter Township Planning Commission for April 22nd, 2025. Now we have microphone? Do we need to start over again? We're good.
I think you're good.
Okay. I guess our first item on the agenda, approve the agenda. Staff, any additional comments, changes?
None.
Commissioners, anybody? Changes? Can I get a motion?
Support. That was Robin.
That was Robin, made the motion. Marie seconded it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same. And that is passed. Approval of the meeting minutes from the March 25th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Any changes from staff on that at all?
None.
Commissioners, after reading them over, anybody need any changes there? No, we're good. I will take a motion.
So moved.
I think Jack was first. Jim will second that motion, so the meeting minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is the public comment section. Again, we're going to go over rules for public comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. There is a countdown clock on both screens for you to check your time, and when your time is up, you will be notified of that. No individual may speak more than once. Public comments are not a question and answer period. They are strictly comments. Please be respectful of others. No abusive, obscene, or irrelevant comments will be allowed. And if you wish to make a comment, please remain seated, raise your hand, and I will acknowledge you to come up to the microphone. And when you do come up, please state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody that would like to make public comment at this time? Going once, going twice? I read all that for nothing. Okay, we'll close the public comment section of the agenda.
Point of order.
We did not vote on the meeting minutes. We just got a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. We did that, didn't we? Okay, so we had a motion and a second. So now all those in favor of the meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same signal.
Make it look easy, don't I?
I'm new.
You are.
All right. Okay, so we have a couple of agenda items here to cover. So we will start with the first one, the special use permit and site plan review for Enterprise. Dennis, if you'd like to give us the details on that.
The project name is Enterprise Car Rental, applicant Enterprise Mobility. Project address 4110 Plainfield Avenue Northeast. Permitted parcel number is 41-10-33-278-002, sorry. Size of site, total site approximately 5.4 acres. Enterprise use of site approximately 0.7 acres. Project description and action requested of the Planning Commission to grant a special use permit and site plan approval for the reuse of an existing building and parking area for an enterprise car rental operation. Public hearing required? Yes. Scheduled for this meeting.
Okay, so we do have a public hearing on this particular line item. We'll start there. If anybody would like to make public comments, same rules still apply. Is there anybody that would like to make comments regarding Enterprise? As I see nobody making a motion, we will move on to that. Is there a representative here from Enterprise? Okay, if you'd like to step up to the microphone and give us a description of what you're proposing. Okay, do you need to come up too, or just?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My name's Tom Hausman with Black Star Building Group. We're the contractor on the job. This is Enterprise Mobility's new location. They're moving a block or so down the street from their other location. They're looking to do what they normally do, rent vehicles, new vehicles, to the public. We've put together a layout. Joe from Omega Architects has put together a nice layout with planter boxes out at the street, accommodating the situation. We don't have irrigation for the boxes, but we've been able, or he was able to come up with some good plantings. They don't need a lot of water, but they look good over time. We've got 34 spaces in that area that's outlined, which is enough for them to operate their business. But that's about it.
Do you have additional comments regarding this project? Can I give a quick overview of what Enterprise does? If you want to step up to the microphone, sure.
All right, my name is Carly Ann Dragamer with Enterprise Mobility. We have multiple lines throughout Enterprise. We also are under the umbrella of Alamo and National. We also have car sales division, commute, fleet, exotics, car share. We love to service the community. All of our vehicles that we do have are no older than 2 years. So currently our fleet's 2025s and 2024s. So we don't have any of the older vehicles on site. We just have currently outgrown our space we are at, and that's the main reason for moving. We'd like to turn the existing building into an admin office because we also need space for admin as well because we're continuing to grow as a really a good business that we like helping the public. We also we're America's 12th largest private company, and we have, let's see, I think last year in state and local tax revenues, we had over $26 million that we did towards that. Let's see. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention is we don't have any, off-site, we do all of our local repairs and maintenance. We don't do any of that on-site. We outsource it to other local vendors. So that's anywhere from repairs to oil changes, brakes, all of that stuff. So that's also not something we do on-site, so that's another outsource to the community. But I think that is all I have.
Staff, I believe Elizabeth, is this one yours?
Yeah, yep, this one's mine. So the zoning on the site is commuter commercial, which is one of our newer zoning districts intended to accommodate auto-oriented uses. This is a special land use in that zoning district, which is why it's before you today. This satellite office for the Pfeiffer Collision building was formerly used for used car sales for Pfeiffer and then for New Way Auto Company, both of which don't operate out of this location any longer. So the satellite office has been underutilized for quite a few years now. The applicant is asking for an increase in the amount of cars permitted to be stored on site. The special land use permit has a maximum of 15 unless the Planning Commission waives that requirement. Pete and I looked at the site, and there's, dating back many, many years, the site is just covered in used cars. So they've pulled the car display area away from Plainfield, provided some screening. So we're comfortable recommending approval of the additional cars on site, but that is to your discretion. The fire department has a minor condition of approval that's been addressed in terms of access around the building. And if Pfeiffer or this use comes in for a parking lot replacement at some point, we will require additional more permanent landscaping and screening to be installed. But the landscaping gets improved with kind of the scale and scope of the project. And because not a ton of work is being done to the site, that felt appropriate. Did you have anything to add, Pete? Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Commissioners, Jack, we can start.
I have nothing, thank you.
Robin?
I have nothing. It seems extremely appropriate to me.
Dennis?
I'm happy to see you guys get a bigger building and display as well, so.
Jim?
Nothing.
Marie?
You want additional parking on there for cars? Is that what Elizabeth said?
Additional, because the recommended was 15, and we're constantly busy, we're constantly helping customers, and 15 just wouldn't suffice the community because we wouldn't have anywhere to put them.
Okay, so I got a figure here of 34. Is that what you're asking for?
I believe,
Correct, that's
Yep.
what, yeah,
All
that's
right.
for the rental cars.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
I just, a couple, car wash. I mean, you said you don't do repairs there, but obviously you want to keep your cars leaking. Is there, what would you do about a car wash on this?
There's not like an automated car wash. We just do like a hand scrub car wash and, well, we don't even call it a car wash, more like a detail bay where we vacuum and then spray the vehicles off, and that's part of the Pfeiffer Collision building.
Okay, so you're working with them on that particular, okay.
Yep, they have a bay for us, and we would just upfit it with the things we need.
And then Pfeiffer would continue to operate, and then they have enough parking for their vehicles and stuff, not to interfere with this, or two distinct
Yep.
businesses? Okay. Okay, I think that's all the questions I have. Anybody else, again, think of anything? No, we're good? I will take a motion at this time, if somebody would like to.
I move that the planning commission grant a special use permit and site plan approval for the enterprise car rental operation at 4140 Plainfield Avenue, including 34 spaces for car rental display, subject to the following conditions of approval. Number one, the applicant shall submit a site photometric plan for approval by the Community Development Department prior to the issuance of a building permit. And number two, the applicant shall provide 3 feet of clearance around the fire department connection for the sprinkler system.
We have a second? Support. Jack made the motion, Jim supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same signal. It is so passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next item on our agenda, zoning ordinance amendments. Dennis?
The project name, zoning ordinance text amendments, applicant Plainfield Charter Township. Project description and action requested of the planning commission to recommend approval of an ordinance to amend for multiple zoning ordinance text amendments as proposed by the Plainfield Charter Township staff.
I would assume you would be both the relevant person and the staff member to talk about this, right?
Yeah, yep, we're both in this case. This one is technically also a public hearing. I don't know if
Okay,
you
well,
want to
we
handle
will
that
do,
first,
we will
or?
do that first. Have
Okay, sure.
public hearing. Anybody wish to comment on the amendments? Please raise your hand. Since nobody raised their hand, we will move on from the public hearing section of that and back to Elizabeth.
All right. Yeah, this is kind of our yearly cleanup. A few definitions needed modifications. Specifically, the community center one was seriously lacking. Pretty much a lot of groups could come in and claim that they were a community center under that definition. So we added some better descriptions there. You have to be a government or a nonprofit to benefit from that status. Pete did a lot of work on the home occupation standards and definition to really modernize and clean those up for our community. Another big one that we tackled was pole barns. This is something that Pete and I have been wrestling with for a few years. People really like their metal pole barns, so we're trying to figure out a way to allow them while make them attractive for the community. So yeah, we did some tweaking there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions on anything, let us know.
Start at the other end this to Marie. Any questions, anything that you noticed or stood out?
I don't have any questions. My comment is that the revised definition is a lot more clear as to what can go on out there. I guess I do have a question. I keep thinking of Randy because he's got that, does he still have that gasoline tank on his property, which seems to be something he can't do pursuant to our code here?
I don't know for sure. I can look into that, Maria. I don't know the answer offhand.
Other than that, it's been tightened up and cleared up. I like it. Thank you.
Jim?
No, I'm pleased that the staff takes the time to review these on an annual basis and keep us current. I know we're going through a comprehensive process. One of my thorns in my side is RVs and how they're parked in neighborhoods and yards, and people figure out ways to get around the current language, so I want to make sure we work to tighten that up as much as we can. You know, my position is if you can afford to buy an RV, you got to be able to afford to store it. So I would as we focus in on that area, the update, I appreciate your consideration.
Dennis?
I like how you cleaned everything up. I had one question about when it comes to your architectural standards. You wanted everything to be done for residential construction materials, but what if you have, isn't there a general architectural standards for any accessory building? So if you have a building that looks very non-residential versus a residential, is there a distinction that should be made?
See, that's what we tried to do last time around. We tried to say, you know, you could have these metal pole buildings, but only in combination with like a wainscoting or a brick or stone base, or we tried to be pretty prescriptive about the material type,
Okay,
and it kind of backfired. Nobody liked the regulation. Nobody felt like it was reasonable. And so we did do our homework and we looked around to see what other communities were doing, and no one had those types of specific regulations. So we kind of scaled it back and said, if you can prove to us that it is compatible with your main residence and it's not going to be an eyesore, then you can move forward.
okay. My only
That's kind
concern-
of the approach that we
Like
took.
if we have like a commercial building that has they want to do an accessory building, they have to make it look like a little house versus if you have a metal roof and a barrel vault, you know, something unique like a firehouse, if they want an accessory building, would they
Right.
be forced to use residential materials as opposed to brick and?
Gotcha. No, we have a separate section of the general provisions that deals with commercial accessory buildings.
Oh, okay.
And we have much tighter control over commercial buildings in the site plan review chapter as well in terms of aesthetics.
Oh, okay, that's all.
So
I
this
had.
this is mostly meant to deal with residential pole buildings.
Thanks.
Robin?
Under home occupation, I remember the contortions that we went through with that homeowner and the work that he was doing in his garage. This seems to clarify that. And accessory structures, so I appreciate you doing that.
Jack?
Had we had any problem with detached accessory buildings on corner lots?
Yeah, we have. So we've, a lot of people want to put them, if they have a house that's set a little bit further back than is required, people want to be able to put a pole barn in their corner front yard. And we don't permit that right now. We think it's a pretty innocuous thing to do in the corner front yard. I think it'll still aesthetically look fine. We're still not allowing them too much further in front of the front face of their home. So, but yeah, we did get quite a bit of pushback on that from a few different folks. So we'll try this out.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarity on home occupations too. The list of prohibited ones is, I don't know if you had the kind of clarity before, but I'm glad that they're there now.
Just a thank you for I'm sure what is tedious work to get the wording right and checking all the boxes. So it is much appreciated. Any further questions, anybody? We are good. I will take a motion at
Actually,
this.
I do have a question, and this is probably so esoterical, it could probably wait for comments, but how do you define a front yard? Is it where the front door is?
So the front lot line is defined not by where the house is situated, but by which lot is the short end. So if there's a front lot line and a corner lot line, the front lot line is the shorter of the two. And then the front yard is any space between the front lot line and the principal building.
So when you say front, you mean the one that's closest to the street?
Yeah, yeah,
But on a corner lot, that's two streets, right? Is that what so you're saying
yes.
the shorter or longer lot, street frontage determines front and side?
Yes. Anything to add to that?
Where it gets a little confusing, Marie, is houses built in the 30s, 40s, 50s and stuff like that around here don't necessarily follow that orientation. And then, so that is established by how it was built and its address typically. So you'll see those in some of the other neighborhoods where it's a little bit more challenging in defining it. This will also help us with that. And then there is a clause in there where you get these goofy lots with multiple frontages and that kind of thing where we can ultimately, it's a administrative call.
So in that theory, the front yard could actually not be the address, street address of the house. So it could be a first street address, but second street would be the front yard. Okay.
But that's for stuff that, for the most part, that's stuff prior to when we started doing zoning reviews. And majority of homes, I'd say, built in the last 20, 30 years, that unless there's some unique circumstance, it's gonna be the short side.
Comments, questions? I will take a motion.
I move that the planning commission recommends the township board approve the ordinance to amend for the proposed text amendments.
Second?
Second.
Robin made the motion, Dennis seconded that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same signal. So passed. Thank you. And third item on our agenda here, the conditional rezone and site plan review. Dennis?
The project name is 1235 Post Drive, conditional rezone. Applicant Josh Strauss, thank you. Rockford Construction. Project address 1235 Post Drive Northeast. Permanent parcel number 41-10-08-200-021. Size of site 17.13 acres. Project description and action requested of the Planning Commission to provide a favorable recommendation to the Township Board to conditionally rezone 1235 Post Drive from R1B residential to LI light industrial and grant site plan approval for a contractor yard and an accessory building. Public hearing required, yes.
We will start with the public hearing. Again, same rules apply. If anybody would like to make a comment regarding this particular item, please raise your hand. Everybody's looking around, so I would assume that means no. So we will move on from the public comment section. And Josh, I guess this is your plan, so fill us in.
Yeah, good evening. Josh Strouts here with Rockford Construction, in-house architect and director of design team. Worked with Peter and his team for a couple months now on this. I think we've got a good plan in place that kind of checks all the boxes. We've got the conditional rezoning agreement set in place with all kind of the parameters and everything. So I guess I'll keep my side of it short and sweet for how we're going to use the site, and then kind of open it up for any questions on that side if you guys have any. But we're excited, Rockford is, to be back kind of in the Rockford area. It's been a little while since that was the case, but we're really excited just demographically, or just geographically, I'm sorry. Our team is really located kind of in northern Kent County. So we've got a lot of trade contractors or just trade partners that we work with as well too in this area. We've got equipment too that we own as well, so that'll be at this site that we'll be storing it as it's in between job sites. And then we'll even have some of our, trade carpenters that work internally for us that'll be kind of running out of this building as well too, with tool storage and et cetera. So use of the property is kind of at least going to maintain kind of consistency with storage, whether it be the yard space or inside the building. So it's pretty consistent with the previous use there. And then eventually we'd love to put down some sort of temporary kind of pole barn structure. Obviously, we've worked with Pete and his team for all the language that states that this really kind of just lasts for the duration of the lease. And so we have to return the property back to its original state after that lease is up. We're not purchasing or owning the property in any way, shape, or form there. So I guess I'll leave it at that and open it up for any questions or comments or clarifications.
Do we have, Pete, is this one your staff?
Sure. We've talked about this tool for a long time. It's kind of a unique tool we can use in our toolbox for zoning issues and such. In this case, there's a non-conforming use. The township sort of allowed it way back about 20 years ago, 30 years, more than that, 40 years ago. And they said, hey, let's make this a special use and we'll let it go. And then nobody ever followed up on it. but the use continued on for decades. It's pretty much been mothballed for the most part over the last, I'd say, decade or so. Could be wrong on the timing a little bit, but the owner, Rick Reese, said he has kept it in operation, so he doesn't lose his non-conforming rights. He had a bus parked out there, did a little bit of maintenance and stuff, enough to keep it active, let's say. So this is kind of a nice tool that kind of solves the problem of this property being a little bit obsolete and a little tired. It lets them reutilize this property. It addresses the non-conforming rights without perpetuating it much longer than we would be comfortable with. And it also protects the township. After 5 years, essentially this goes away unless the township and the applicant decide to extend it in the future. That's really it in a nutshell. It's kind of a nice tool. What you're looking at here is this conditional rezone is also including the site plan. So you'd be approving that. That's covered in the conditions of the approval in the document. If you were to recommend approval, it would go to the board. The board would ultimately have to approve it, and we'd have to record these conditions to keep, on the property and for the future. Let's see if there's anything else I want to touch base on here. I think that should do it. I did property history in there if you want to take a look at that, as well as a quote from the township attorney, just going through the basic key items of this use on the property. I'll leave it at that. Elizabeth, do you have anything you want to add?
Dennis, we'll start with you.
Oh,
Mix it up
Well,
a little bit.
I think it's a good tool to use, and I have no comment.
Robin?
There's a 1,800 square foot building proposed in either one of two locations, and then I saw a larger building located somewhere on the property. Could you fill me in on that?
I think generally we have the 2,400 square feet is what we settled on, roughly a 60 by 40 structure. We've been kind of toying back and forth. It's kind of more or less like a pole barn kit, so to speak. And so it would sit in that location that we currently have that's shown on the screen here right now. So it'd be behind the existing building. It wouldn't be located within the fenced-in area per se, just based on how our business functions. So the preferred area or location would be in kind of the front yard, so to speak.
And there wasn't a second larger building that was under
I
consideration?
think we had proposed multiple options in the initial conversation with Peter, and then I think over time, as we kind of honed in the package, that's changed.
The entire property is mostly agricultural, Peter?
What's that? Excuse me.
The rest of the property is used as agricultural?
Yes.
Yeah,
Kind of
looks
a whole mixed bag here.
like a little bit of a rotational crop or hayfield for the most part.
Is there any possibility that this use would expand?
No, it's locked into the footprint, and that's a condition of approval. And that was a key item for all of us. And that,
And the property owner would be maintaining the rest of the property as they have been?
yeah, and really that's been minimal. He's just, from what I can tell, has just been leasing that out to probably somebody across the road. There's a couple farms still left up there.
I have no more questions. Thank you.
Jack?
Very interesting zoning history to it. The only question I have is noise. I visited it earlier today, and it didn't seem like it was intrusive at all in terms of noise. Will there be a change in that at all?
No, that's pretty consistent with how we'll operate. So it's basically more or less a storage yard. So we won't be actually doing any framing or any sort of prep work for any job sites within those buildings. It's more just a general storage.
That's all I have.
Jim?
What happens at the end of the 5-year lease?
End of the 5-year lease, and we've sent this to Peter as well too, so this could be included as part of documentation if needed, but we have to return this site back to its original state. I do believe there is a re-up potential, at least in our lease agreement with the property owner, but if that's the case, then we would have to come back to Peter and his team to reevaluate at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Marie?
That was my question, so I'm all set. Thanks.
Does rezoning this today hurt us in the future?
No, because this is a time-limited situation, so we can always revert back. In fact, actually, I think it's probably generally a benefit to the whole area because the property's been underutilized and blighted might be a stretch, but kind of along those lines for a while.
Don't see a downside to, as far as future uses and things, we're not affecting anything.
I do not, and in talking to Rockford Construction and Mr. Reesig, who's the owner of the property, certainly they're not locked into this, but there's some consideration of redevelopment, and what we're looking at is, we're looking at the master plan here, which calls for some light industrial, calls for mixed use. Maybe light industrial isn't the end-all answer here. It's probably a fairly valuable piece of property in terms of redevelopment. So in talking to Rockford Construction, they have some interest in doing some redevelopment on this site too. So I think this could be a win-win for the community, the township, and the applicant.
Further questions from anybody? No? With that, I will take a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend the Township Board approve the ordinance to amend to conditionally rezone 1235 Post Drive from R1B residential to LI light industrial, including site plan approval based on the following findings of fact. 1, the proposed conditional rezoning is consistent with the township's master plan, existing non-conforming rights, and with existing land use patterns. Number 2, the proposed conditional rezoning is adaptive to changing conditions in the surrounding areas. Number 3, the proposed conditional rezoning is compatible and well buffered from existing land use patterns in the area. Number 4, the site is adequately served by public utilities. Number 5, the conditional rezoning does not represent spot zoning. And number 6, the proposed conditional rezoning is further supported for those reasons set forth by the members of the Planning Commission, staff, and applicant as reflected in the entire meeting record of this matter.
Marie, thank you for that motion. Second? Second. Robin, second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same signal. So passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
With that, we move on to staff comments.
Because you brought it up, we are still working on the greater zoning ordinance amendments to update the update the code per the master plan. Making some good progress with progressive AE on that. We're excited about ADU regulations in particular. Those might come to you before the rest of the package. So watch out for that one. You got anything?
We may have a couple of tweaks. Thought this was going to be the last minor amendment stuff, where we may have a couple of tweaks coming to you before we get to the big new ordinance. So just a heads up. But that's about all I have right at the moment.
Planning Commission comments, Marie? Start with ladies first.
You know, I've been on the commission for a while, and I've never heard of conditional rezoning like this. And I don't remember using it in the past, but I like it.
So it is a statute, it's enabled through the Zoning Enabling Act. It's something that we bounced around for a long time, and we asked for different ordinances, and we contemplated for a long time. I don't remember what the hesitation was over the years, but I think we just thought it was too complicated a tool. But after we got done drafting it, and you know, the Rockford Construction's benefit, they did some of the heavy lifting on this for us because we hadn't done this before. But after we got through it, I think it's a fairly easy process. So.
I think it's got some really good benefits to it. That's all I have.
Jim?
Nothing here, thank you.
Jack?
Good, thanks.
Robin? Dennis?
Just, the 5 Mile in Plainfield project, it was just pushed, I saw it on the news, is that, to be totally handled by you guys and won't be presented to the planning commission, kind of?
We haven't determined that yet. It's not quite at that stage yet. The township board just agreed to sell the property. We have a concept, but we don't know in terms of what the project will or will not approve for in terms of administrative approval. So if they're requesting any deviations from the MXU chapter or anything like that, then they'll need to come to you folks. We're thinking right now probably administratively, but we'll definitely keep you posted and send you updated site plans and renderings as we get them.
And if you'd like, I'm sure we could bring this to you just so you can review it and take a look at it. I think it's gonna be a nice project for the community. It's really exciting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Very much so.
There is a time limit project, on it, though. What was it, 2 years they have to, they have to
have to
build in
act
2
on it,
years,
yeah.
otherwise it goes back to us.
I'm
I'm done.
okay. I was, same thing. It sounds like an exciting, different project. My only question, I guess, Jack, maybe you can answer this. The board, did they consider, if it's a Habitat for Humanity, the clientele that would probably buy or rent those, would there be talk about extending bus lines up to that point?
That was not addressed, and I don't think that's gonna happen, but
We did discuss that in general, staff-wise. We don't think that the density that this is going to provide in this one spot location would drive a
Okay.
bus line in particular. There'd have to be a lot more development in that particular area. I was also going to mention, one of the reasons that they are 2 years on this project is they have a very similar project they are doing on the south side of Grand Rapids. I forget the street name right offhand, but it's essentially where their headquarters is currently. I've been out there to see a little bit of the work they've been doing, some of the projects they've worked on. I have a lot of confidence in what they can do, so.
fundraising component, I think they need to get the funds in order to develop it.
It sounds like an exciting opportunity for a lot that's been vacant for way too many years. So, so hopefully, in keeping, I would much like to be kept informed of what's going on with that, just because I find it interesting of what they're doing.
Definitely. Also, they're probably going to come to Brownfield, so we'll keep you posted on that too.
One more step to reimagine Plainfield.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, I think, so you got to take small steps to start, so I think that's a good thing. Any additional comments? We're good? Marie looks like she's ready to go, so. With that, we will adjourn the meeting.